Every year, more than 10 million men and women in the United States are subjected to domestic violence. But there is hope. Nonprofit organizations like First Step are here to help and can offer support for survivors in the form of so many things: shelters, counseling, advocacy, and much more. Welcome to Celebrate Michigan, the show produced on the campus of Madonna University. I'm Chris Benson. With me today is Lori Kitchen-Buschel, Executive Director of First Step. Lori, I'm so glad you could join us today on the set.
Thank you for having me.
So, First Step is a nonprofit organization, and you've been with them how long?
Just over 4 years. So I started in 2018.
Okay, and so what drew you to nonprofit work, and then we'll talk about what drew you to First Step.
No problem. Well, it started a long time ago. I actually got interested in politics and public policy when I was in high school. And I had a mentor named Irma Henderson, who was very well known around Detroit. She was the first black woman and the first woman to be president of Detroit City Council. And so I came to know her a little bit later in her life, but at a very important time in mine. And she got me very passionate about safety and security for people, especially in southeastern Michigan. I went to Washington, D.C. for college, thinking I wanted to go into government. I worked for the government on a maternal and child health grant program for a little over a year, and decided I did not want to work in the government. So I returned back to Michigan, and I started working in nonprofits then in 2008. I've had the pleasure of working at United Way. I worked at the Michigan Women's Foundation. I also worked at an organization called Avalon, and they do sexual assault kits for Wayne County. So I've always been doing either nonprofit development or public policy for nonprofits related to access to basic needs, human trafficking, and safety and security for women and children. And so that's kind of what led me to First Step.
There's so much I want to ask now that you said that. Well, and let me say, what was it about First Step that made you decide to be there and has made you stay there?
Well, originally, the people who were part of finding the new executive director had reached out to me a couple of times, and I actually said no. I had 3 young kids. I was a foster mom at the time. And I just did not think that it was the right time for me. The people involved really felt that it was. And my husband had said to me, "You always said that your goal in life was to run an agency focused on safety and security for women and children. It seems to me like you should at least go interview and get the practice." So I went through a 3-month interview process, and they offered me the position. I also found out I was pregnant with my 4th child at the same time, and so I did accept, and I'm so glad that I did.
Mm-hmm. So why are services that First Step provides needed in the community? It looks like you've had a lot of different experiences and exposure to a lot of different things. Why are organizations like this important?
So, our organization has been around for a very long time, and there are domestic violence and sexual assault agencies serving counties across Michigan, and ours is just one of many. And unfortunately, there is a well-known need, especially when you monitor crime, for there to be outlets and supportive services for survivors of crime, and specifically survivors who have been affected by sexual assault and domestic violence. It is unfortunately a huge issue in our community. It has been for years and years and years. And so what we are able to do is be a completely supportive space that is well trained and well educated on the resources and the dynamics that survivors of domestic and sexual violence have experienced, and what we can help provide them so that they can not only heal but thrive.
And as the executive director, what does a day look like in your life at First Step?
Oh, it changes all the time. There is no typical day. Today we had a leadership team meeting where we talked about some program policy changes and some growth that we're doing. I also do, interviews and things just like this. Also dealing with important conflicts. Sometimes we have needs or issues that are a little bit, beyond just what an advocate should handle, and I will have to support if that's necessary, but we have really capable staff. So it's not often that I have to get involved, with a lot of the details. I like to be in the community a lot, getting to know other community members. We like to partner with other agencies that have similar mission or ways, that we would interact with similar clients. So a survivor of sexual assault can also have many different, dynamics and many different identities. And so we partner with other agencies like Sasha Center in Detroit that is focused on Black women who are sexual assault survivors. So really knowing the resources and making sure we have a good relationship with other community members and getting into the community and meeting with other members is how I spend a lot of my time. And of course, writing grants, raising money, and working with our amazing board of directors.
And I know First Step is in Wayne County and serves Wayne County. Yeah. And how long have you been in Michigan? Are you a lifelong Michigander?
I am.
Okay, yep. So tell us where you've been and how you've spent your time in Michigan.
Yep. So I was born right at the Wayne Hospital, which was Annapolis and is now Beaumont, which is right next to where our shelter is. So I was born across the street from our shelter.
Oh, wow.
And then I lived in Plymouth for a little bit. My parents lived with my grandparents when I was very young, and then I lived in Novi, and then I lived in St. Clair Shores. So I have lived in Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. I spent, my high school days in Macomb County, and then again I went to DC for college. I also met my now husband when I was in DC, and in 2008 we both came back together. We were in Harrison Township at first, and as I've worked at different nonprofits, I've moved around a little bit. I also worked in a nonprofit out of Ann Arbor, so I have some familiarity with Washtenaw County. But now, the First Step is really where I've hunkered down and hope to keep my roots for a while. And so we are raising our family outside of Farmington Hills.
Well, and we always love to hear that here on Celebrate Michigan. We like to be celebratory about the people and the great things that happen in our state. And so we are so glad that you're here and providing services through First Step right here near us. I can't believe it's time to take a break already, but we're going to take a very quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Lori about the organization First Step, the services they provide, and they are comprehensive, I have to tell you. So stay tuned. We'll be right back and you'll hear more.
When you pick up a book,
I used to read every night to all the younger kids,
and let your imagination break free, you won't believe how much fun it can be.
Let down your house!
Experience a world of adventure, excitement, and endless possibilities. Get tangled up in a good book. Explore new worlds. Read. Visit read.gov today.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Oh, emojis! I thought the conversation just got dumber.
Ugh, internet trolls, just ignore them.
I like you just the way you are.
I believe in you!
She's a hugger. Give her a squeeze.
Help up the hand!
Ah, there you go. Thanks, mate.
You're killing it, Jane!
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson, and today I'm here with Lori Kitchen-Buschel, an executive director at First Step, and we're going to talk about the many services in the organization itself. Tell us a little bit about the history of First Step, Lori. How did it come to be?
So it came, in 1978 when much awareness was being raised around domestic violence and the need for safe spaces, specifically for women at the time. And so in 1978, a group of amazing women got together and worked really hard to open up the original shelter, which was in Canton. It was in an old farmhouse in Canton. And it was quite small, but it did the job, and they were there for a very long time. And then about 13 years ago, we moved to our Wayne facility, which is it is a beautiful labor of love from the community. It has a beautiful playground. It has an animal shelter so that survivors do not have to leave their pets in a violent home, which is also excellent for the children because they don't have to lose their pets. And it has just a beautiful playground. Everybody gets their own room. It looks very much like an apartment. And so that's kind of how we came to have our shelter facility and really started as shelter, but we've grown in so many other services over the past several years. And
I'm familiar with your services because I've referred persons to them. Yes. And that piece you mentioned about the pets was something that was so compelling for me because I never thought about the fact that if someone's in a dangerous situation and they want to leave, they don't want to leave children or pets behind. And many shelters doesn't have the facilities to accept it. So that was something very eye-opening where I had to say, okay, a moment of realization and learning for myself. Yeah. But that when I see that you are a comprehensive program, you really are. I mean, yes. You've thought of many things that are affected when someone is a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, yes. Dating violence, those kind of things.
Yes. We follow an empowerment-based model, which means we believe that the survivor is in the driver's seat. What they want, what their decisions are, we give them complete control, and then we provide supportive services around them based off of their needs and how they want to take the next steps for themselves. And so in doing so, we really come from a place of we always believe, and we always are looking for what are the barriers in the way that we can remove to allow a survivor to be able to be safe, to heal, and also to be self-sufficient.
And so your website is so well done and so thoughtful. I mean, I know there's even a button for a quick escape from it. Like if, someone is worried that, someone is seeing that. And so just so many things that your organization does well to serve. And I know you brought some pictures to mm-hmm. give people an idea, a little bit about what it is that First Step does. And we're going to show those now. And I'd love for you to talk through and just tell us what we're looking at.
Absolutely. So this is our Wayne facility. It is one side of it is our shelter. The other side of it is our non-residential program where we meet with survivors who need our services. So it doesn't matter if, how you identify, it doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your race. You can come in and receive service from us. It is not just for you to be in shelter. And so again, our Wayne facility is the Karen Wilson Smith Bauer Center. And our ARC is here, our playground is here, and both children and adults come in for counseling and advocacy services as well.
And I appreciate you've mentioned it because I wondered who can use the services, and it sounds like anyone can use
Anybody who identifies as being affected by domestic or sexual violence at any age and anywhere in their healing journey. This is our ARC that we were talking about. So our ARC stands for Animals Receiving Kindness. This is the dog area. So we have it set up like a living area so that the families in shelter can come and spend their time in there with their pets. They also have access to the outside, and they also have a dog run that they can go out to.
Oh, that's such a service that's needed. Sadly, again, something we might not think of.
Yes. And this is our children's room that is located in our shelter. And this is important for two reasons. One, we can provide services in this room, but also when there's downtime in the shelter and a parent needs to go to a counseling appointment or a job interview or a medical appointment or is meeting with their attorney in shelter, we have open hours so that the kids in shelter can come in and they're supervised by our nurturer and they can play freely and just, be kids, and the parents can focus on what they need to focus on.
And I love that term nurturer. Again, that just is probably exactly what they need at that time.
And then this is our cat room. So we do take any legal pets in the state of Michigan, but most commonly we have dogs and cats. And so this is our cat room, and so they can be free in here and they can move around, and it's been set up for them to be able to see out the window and climb around, and again, you can spend time in there, but the cats are separated from the dogs. It helps them with stress and it helps keep everybody safe.
And just the colors and the decor that you have, I notice it's uplifting. It's you know, again, I think that, I imagine that would be important for this kind of a situation.
We've worked really hard to, and we've had a lot of support from the community to create all of our spaces to not feel like you're staying at a shelter, but to feel like you're coming into a warm, inviting home, that you are welcome and you can feel safe and you can heal.
And how pervasive is the problems, are the problems that you serve?
So it's pretty significant, and I think people are often really surprised by this. Just in the past year alone, we served over 6,000 survivors in southeastern Michigan, primarily Wayne County. We get over 12,000 calls to our crisis line. We run the 24-hour crisis line for the county of people who are in need of help and services and safety planning. And so that is just who we hear from. And we can't account for everybody we don't hear from. The other thing is, too, we only have so many shelter beds, and we're working to find a way to open up more shelter beds, but we are unable to house about 100 to 150 families every month who are calling for a safe place to go.
Wow, that number,
yes,
150.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and so there is a huge need for safe shelter in this area, and we're working to try to build more.
Oh, sadly, it's time for another break, but I know you won't want to miss the rest of our show. We'll be back with Lori in just a few minutes, and we'll talk more about how you can get involved with this wonderful organization, very worthy organization. Stay tuned.
So my uncle calls and he says he's dizzy and he's losing his balance. I'm like, Unc, you want me to take you to a doctor? He's like, no, I'm gonna look up the symptoms. I said, your symptoms are you're dizzy and you're losing your balance. So he said, I can't get on the internet because my arm is numb. I said, well, use your good arm and dial 911. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love is showing symptoms of stroke, don't wait because it might be too late. Dial 911. Time lost is brain lost.
Do you like this top? It's so gay.
Really?
Yeah, it's totally gay.
You know, you really shouldn't say that.
Say what?
Well, say that something's gay when you mean it's bad. It's insulting. What if every time something was bad, everybody said, oh, that's so girl wearing a skirt as a top?
Oh, you are.
Those are cute jeans, though. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program is preparing me for the future.
I'm learning from industry professionals, making connections, and honing my skills from hands-on experience every day.
The professors are dedicated to my success, instilling professionalism, creative thinking, and a strong work ethic.
Join Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program. Earn your Bachelor's of Arts and take that first step towards your dreams.
Hi, I'm Peter, and there's nothing I love more than sharing vegetables with my friends. Come on in! Help yourself to anything. That's why we give our food the utmost respect it deserves. Did you know there are simple steps we can all take to help save food? You can cook it, store it, even share it. Just don't waste it. Because when it comes to food, better ate than never. To learn more, visit savethefood.com.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson. We're in the studio with Lori Kitchen-Buschel to talk about how to get involved with First Step. We've spent some time together talking about the organization and all the wonderful comprehensive services that are provided for survivors. What are the ways to get involved? I know there's people watching and they're thinking, gosh, either I haven't heard of First Step or I have, but I just never thought about that I could do something to help. What can we do?
Yeah, so we have many ways to get involved. And I want to say, First Step really, with its rich history in the community, is like a family. Our volunteers, our interns, our board members, our clients, our staff, are all very close and have a huge, connection to the community at large. And so when you come and get involved in First Step, there's many ways to do that and many ways to become a part of this family. And one of my greatest privileges is interacting with the volunteers, the donors, and our amazing staff and our amazing clients who are just, success and resilience, personified. And so ways to get involved. One is donate. We have an annual gala every year. We have many needs that our survivors have, both in goods and in financial. So donating, and you can see some of the ways we can receive donations on our website, and also attending our gala. Also, we have internships and volunteer opportunities that involve training and then also deciding where do you want to give your time in the agency. So you might be really good at marketing, but you don't want to do marketing as a volunteer opportunity. So what we do is really try to have customized opportunities and put projects out there for people to get involved. We also have assault response volunteers, which is people who do want to be involved with survivors when they do need help most. And that is a deeply trained program where volunteers will actually go to hospitals or police stations and help support survivors in their immediate need. And so we also have other volunteer nurturers. So we talked about nurturing earlier. People can come and help play with the kids, plan activities for the kids, do birthday parties with the kids. We also have people come and play with the animals, help clean the ark as well, if you're interested in that. And so volunteering is a great way. It can be several opportunities. It can be just a one-off opportunity. And you can find out more about that on our website.
And what is your website? Tell us so that we can make sure we find it.
It's www.firststep-mi.org.
And I imagine that there's a lot of people that are talented, and either good with arts and crafts or maybe musical things, and that they could also contact you and say, again, like for enrichment activities, something to help take the persons that are staying there their minds off of maybe what's going on in their life right now and help them just enjoy and experience some joy.
Yes, absolutely. And self-care opportunities for both staff and clients, or any way in which you feel you can give back. There's probably a way that we can welcome you at First Step.
What have you learned from the time that you have been at First Step?
The privilege that I have learned at my time at First Step is that there are really amazing humans in our community. And there is a lot of sadness and there is a lot of pain, but that there is hope. And you had said that earlier too. There is absolutely hope. And we see time and time again, people just blossom and heal, and that is just the greatest lesson, that people are resilient and hope is possible. And when you remove barriers and you believe somebody, a lot can happen for them. And so that's been kind of my greatest learning, and that we would be nothing without our staff. They are everything. They give their emotional labor, and they are brilliant and incredible.
And if there's someone watching right now who is watching this and they're thinking to themselves, gosh, I need to contact them, but I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm not sure if what I'm going through is really bad enough that I need to reach out. Maybe it's going to get better. What would you say to someone who might be in that position watching the show right now?
Well, first, we believe you, and you don't have to justify where you are or if it's bad enough. We believe you. That is our job. We absolutely believe you. We have a 24-hour crisis line that you can call for support. You can just get some basic resources. You can just talk through safety planning. You don't have to be in a place where you need to come into shelter. There are several other ways that you can get services and counseling and advocacy or legal support. And so you can always, one, check out our website if you are more comfortable with that, but really calling our 24-hour hotline, our crisis line, is a great way to be heard and then get some help and get some support.
What do you see for the future of First Step?
More shelter beds.
Okay.
I see us expanding into the city of Detroit and having beds specifically in the city because it's needed. I see us expanding our community response services. So we're right now in several court and police jurisdictions, but we're not in all of them. And I think that potentially we could be in all of them across Wayne County. And to continue to remove barriers and learn and adjust and adapt to how barriers are adjusting and adapting as well.
And what do you hope people will take away from, the half hour that we've just spent with them?
That there is a real need in our community. Violence is happening, and it's happening everywhere, and pretty much everybody knows somebody, whether they've spoken it out loud or not. It's not your job to fix it, it's just your job to believe them. So don't ever question a survivor, don't ever judge their behaviors. You haven't walked in their shoes. So believe them and connect them to us if you can, and listen to them and support them. But get involved, join us. We're full of amazing humans. So if you're an amazing human, come check us out.
And tell us your website one more time.
It's www.firststep-mi.org.
Thank you, Lori, so much for being with us today. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but we really appreciate you bringing this important message to our viewers today. And we are out of time. Thank you also for watching. If you know anyone who's suffering or has suffered from some form of domestic violence or sexual assault, please contact the 24-hour helpline. It's 734-722-6800. We want you to know you're not alone, and we just want to thank you again for joining us for this important episode of Celebrate Michigan today, where we talk about all the things that are happening in the Mitten State. It is Michigan, the Mitten State. See you next time, and stay tuned.